You've got to master that. So again, you keep them in that place of really trying to figure out the pain. If somebody were buying a house from me, I will sit and question them about the house they're buying or the house they're looking for, and them, because what's going to happen is when I show them a house, then I can show them 3 or 4 houses and they're going to buy. If I don't sit and really question them, then I can take them out for 6 months and they never buy, or they'll buy from somebody else but not me. So one of the best ways to really keep a person in their pain, to really understand what is going on as a motivated seller, if they're in foreclosure, where they are in the foreclosure, if they're relocating, how soon they need to relocate. You've got to have a format, and we call that scripts and dialogues. You've got to master scripts and dialogues. And I have a few people that have gone over to my website and they've ordered the Millionaire Scripts book. You don't have to, but it's very helpful. It's nothing but wholesaling and real estate scripts in there. That's all it is. But you want to find a script. If you have a worksheet, the most basic worksheet a real estate investor should have is the one, seller checklist, where you are just asking them questions about the property, questions about themselves, and questions like if they have a mortgage balance, or this is something, again, you want to practice and get to the point where it comes out of you naturally. But even that sheet, you've got to master asking a visual person the questions on that sheet in a certain way. Okay, so a visual person, if I were going to ask them about, let's say, 123 Main Street, and they were describing 123 Main Street to me, I would say, oh, I can see exactly what you're saying about the property. If they were kinesthetic, I would say, oh my God, I'm really feeling you on this. And if they were auditory, it made complete sense to me. So you see how differently I told each one that I'm getting what they're saying in their own language. That is what you want to master. Most people that are in real estate that are top producers, out of 100 people that get started in real estate, 87% fail. They quit and fail. It's a revolving door. And usually the 87% that are quitting and failing are the ones that have not taken time to invest in mastery. Like, I can get this information and I can go get started. Or I went to this place and they told me it's all about the numbers. It's all about relationships. So one of the things that top producers, the 13% that are successful in real estate, do is they've mastered analyzing and studying people so that they can sell them in their own language, or they can advise them in their own language. Another thing, when you're in real estate, you want to learn to look at people, because people will tell you one thing and you can see another. One of the great ways to analyze a person is to look at their shoes. Shoes can tell you how emotional the person is, believe it or not. It can tell you their income bracket, and it will also tell you their age bracket, because high income earners, they wear a visual person. The reds in your life, they wear more colorful shoes, and they are usually more extroverted. They're usually more trendier. But people who wear practical, functional shoes are usually more agreeable. They agree with you easier because they're at that stage in life where they're comfortable with themselves, or they focus on comfort. Well-kept shoes that look new but are not conscientious, the more kinesthetic, the ones that care about people more. And flip-flops just says, you know, I'm going to do what I feel. A lot of your millennials will wear flip-flops. You can also study a person by their profile pictures. Try to build your business on reds, because like I said before, the blues are the people that complain and they blame other people for their issues. They're going to have you working harder, and more likely ones that will quit on a deal or put off, doing what needs to be done to get the deal to close. So you want to focus your energy on reds. Look on social media, find the people that are reds, look at their profile pictures, and take a look at your own profile pictures, because your profile pictures tell people a lot about you. Most people will go look at your profile on your own Facebook page before they determine if they want to look at you. I get so many friend requests, and so before I accept it, I will go look at the person's profile picture, because you also get a lot of spam that friends request you. People, want to spam you. So I look to see what is their profile, what is their about page, what is their, the history on their page, what kind of the photos, how many photos they. Sometimes I go to somebody's page and they have a lot of sexual stuff on there, so I just press delete, or I don't answer their friend request, or and I focus more on building my personal friend acceptance, people that I accept their friendships, on more of the reds. What have they accomplished already, and where am I taking my business in the next 6 months? Because that's going to determine the groups that I join on social media. So on your profile picture, if you're a red, you're more than likely going to have a nice picture that shows more of your face. It's going to, you did it with your, even if you did it with your own camera. And more than likely you will be smiling very nicely, and you will be more, perceived with a wider smile on your profile page. The other thing about the profile pages is some people that really don't believe in themselves that much. Their pictures don't really look that well, and they really don't show their teeth. They don't show their smile. And those pictures are not usually, as I said, your top producers. People that are top producers usually want to have better looking pictures, higher quality pictures, sharp images, and you can see their face. Some people now, they're doing this thing where on their profile pictures they put sunglasses. Well, most people that are looking want to see what your eyes are like, because your eyes are the windows of the world. So if you're looking to be seen as somebody confident, look at how you put your profile picture. The other thing about people that are the greens, not the reds, the greens are people that they're okay in their life and they're looking to do better. The blues are just people that, like I said, they want to whine and complain. But the greens, they will have decent pictures, but they usually don't have the best picture of themselves. But it'll be an okay picture. They look very comfortable on their profile picture. Sometimes I change up my profile picture. Sometimes it looks very professional, and sometimes it's just a picture that my son took, or I took somewhere and I like the way it looked, and I asked my assistant to upload that picture instead. But as I was saying to you before, 100% of the people that get into real estate, 93% of these, 87% of these people quit. And they quit because they don't understand what real estate investing is all about. I have some people that reach out to me through my meetup, the RIA and the RIA Academy. It's the meetup, the RIA in Atlanta. And then in New York, our meetup in New York is called the RIA Queens, Long Island. And so people reach out to me on these two sites. And some of the people that reach out to me, I can tell they're not going to make it in this industry, because even when they ask questions and you give them free stuff they can do, they don't do it, or they don't go to, if I'm not the mentor for you, find another one, but you need to be mentored. You need to be mentored, and you will have more success. Start with a video, start with a YouTube video, but try to pick a mentor and then stick to them. Don't go to this mentor for this and that mentor for that, and then you try to put it all together, because you don't even know what you need until you do a whole deal and a few deals at a time. And the thing about a mentor, I once heard somebody say that a mentor that writes a book will give you their whole life's experience in like 5 or 10 chapters. Stuff that it took them years to master, they give it to you, and you could read their information in a 30 minutes if you're listening to a video, or you can read the book and take 6 months. What they've had to invest to learn what they know. Do you know that most people, when you're speaking to them, when you go into a cell, I used to have my agents and my the people that I mentor, I'll actually do a training where I have them sit at a table so they can learn body language at a table, because 7% of your presentation, of your conversation with somebody is your words, and it's their words but 93% is their body language. And so this is why you also have to master mirror matching people. And I'm not going to talk too much on that. I'm more focused on mirror matching their voice. So if you're talking to a visual talks very fast, and we got to get a lot of information out. So we want to get it all out right now, their household, and we really want to know, like, how quickly, if I give you my house, how quickly am I going to get the check so that I can, you said you're paying cash, so how quickly are you going to pay the cash so I can move on to the next thing I'm doing? So that's one. Another person, hey Jennifer, another thing is, if I'm talking to a person that is a visual, I'm going to mirror match them. I'm going to talk a little faster when I'm speaking to them so they can hear my tone sound like theirs. People buy from themselves or somebody that reminds them of themselves a lot faster than they buy from people they don't know. An auditory person is somebody who is kind of like, these numbers got to make sense. They're kind of cut and dried, and they could, I have a student I'm mentoring right now. She's going to become one of the top real estate agents in the area, and I see it coming. I'm mentoring her, and so one of her latest clients is very, very auditory. So hey Marcus. So the person that she's dealing with that's very auditory, the person will make a decision, say, yes, I love this property. I'm ready to make an offer. Here's the down payment check and all that kind of stuff. And then the person will come back. So I'm always giving her dialogue on how to handle it to keep the deal moving to the closing table. Because when you know this is the best solution or the best situation for your seller or your buyer, you want to keep the deal moving to the closing table. Anybody tells you that they got a deal and they didn't have to work it to the closing table, they're not doing a lot of deals. And, they're not as professional as they could be. So if I'm talking to somebody that's analytical, or they come back to me with they've done their research now, and somebody else told them this sounds better. Well, I'm not going to fight them. You have to let them get all their information out, and then you have to listen for the key words and then repeat it back to them in their same key words. Okay, so if they said something like, I went and I really I think that was a good decision, but, now I'm thinking about it. I think I could find something better, maybe a little bit cheaper, because the numbers, I checked out the neighborhood. Or, another investor came by and they told me they could give me a lot more money. Well, I wrote a whole bunch of different scripts for that. But here's what I want to tell you. If you keep getting the same objection, if everybody you talk to says the same, when I was in multi-level marketing, people would say MLM is a scam, or 5 links is a scam. And most of the people before I trained them would get frozen by that. They wouldn't be able to close their people because they were like, oh, they thought it was a scam and I didn't know what to say to them. And I would give them different options. If somebody says to you, I think real estate investing is a scam. Well, what about it that makes you feel that way? Or, if they're visual, I would say, well, what about it that makes you see it that way? Auditory, what about it that makes you hear that? Where have you heard that? And so now I'm using their own personality type to get them to now start telling me why they think it's a scam. And so now I would give them back. Well, I appreciate how you feel. I appreciate how you see it. I appreciate how it sounds to you. Things like that. And then I would give them a list of why it's not. When I was with Five Links, people would tell me, "Oh, it's a pyramid, so it's a scam," and I would say, "Well, what?" The same thing I just said to you, and then I'd give them back this dialogue. What about the pyramid that makes you uncomfortable? Because it's the strongest structure that makes you uncomfortable. And then they tell me, and I'd say, I appreciate how you feel. All that stuff I said to you, speak to them in their own language. But then I would say, do you know that even the church is set up in a pyramid? Do you know that the political structure is set up with the pyramid mindset? Because it's the strongest leadership type. So are you comfortable now that you understand why most things are run in that format? Where do you work? And then they tell me, I'd say, well, do you have a boss? Yes. Even Coca, there is this current CEO, there's a bunch of his, a board of directors under him. Then there's different team leaders, and it keeps growing to the people that put the caps on the bottle. Every famous structure. So you're educating the person, you're not fighting them. Learn to speak to people in their own language and learn to educate them. But you cannot educate somebody if you don't take the time to get educated. My kids tell me, "You're one of the strongest closers I've ever met." They run into people that have worked with me for years, worked with me years ago, and the person always says, "I've never met a stronger closer than her." But that's because I have mastered this stuff. When people and kinesthetic people want to feel, when they're dealing with you, they get a goosebump. So learn to speak very inspiring words to get your information across. Don't be cut and dried. If your auditory and numbers make sense to you, you cannot go to a visual person and get them to sign with you because you spoke only numbers. You got to give them a full visual of what it is that's going to happen. So you got to know their pain points, and then you got to know where they're trying to go. You give them the visual of their pain points, and then you give them a visual of what it's going to look like on closing day. And at the end of that, you show them how it benefited them. Look into the eyes of the people. Kind of shady when you talk to somebody and they're always looking away and they can't look you in the eyes, or they're always looking down, or they looking like this. Even when I watch television, I look at the shifts of the person's eyes. And we're going to talk about that another time. But I teach that to my students as well, because years ago, when I took my grandmother, who's now going to be with the Lord, we took her to New Mexico, and we drove across the border. But when we were coming back, my grandmother was very African. She would wear her little tambourine, her little tam-looking hat. And then she had like a very, sweater that she always wore, like she just left the village, African. So when we were coming back, my brother looked very well-to-do, very American. I looked very American. The kids looked very American. But here goes my grandmother. So they tried to keep her. When we crossed the border, we had rented a Winnebago, and my brother drove it there, and we drove back. So they tried to keep my grandmother at the border. And one of the reasons that they said they tried to keep her is they asked her what color was her sweater, and she said it, and her eye movements were one way. But then when they asked her another question about her passport and stuff like that, they noticed her eye movements shifted. So FBI friends of mine, and they said, yes, they study eye shifts, and that's how they know, like, they've caught drug dealers or people that have done burglaries and stuff, because when they speak to you, they look at your eye shifts. So that's another thing you've got to master. And if you really want to make real estate long term, these are the basics. Just really learning to read and understand people, but learning to hear what information they're telling you, because most people want to work with you, but they want you to sell them in their own language. Okay, I hope you got something out of this and it helps you. If you have any other questions about, feel free to send me a message, inbox me, message me. If you're following me on Instagram, DM me over there, but just send me a message and I'll be happy to answer you. 3 personality types. Reds are visual. They're the go-getters. They're the top producers. Look around you, see who is like that. See if you're that personality type. The greens are right in the middle. They're going to get stuff done. Things has to make sense to them, and they're going to, keep it moving. And then you have the blues. These are people that like to whine and complain. Don't spend all your time there. That's why it's great to have a marketing plan. The more you market, the more deals you will have. And if you want to close 10 deals a month, let's start with 1 deal a month. Let's start with 3 deals a month, which means 50% of the deals you take, you will close. That means you should always have 6. If you're trying to close 3, you should have more than 6 in your pipeline, getting ready to close at all times. If you're trying to close 10 and your ratios are very good, then you should have more than 10 in your pipeline. All deals don't close at the same time, no matter how perfect and in order you thought they were. They don't close at the same time. So your whole goal is to focus on marketing and then master the personality type. So when you walk into the house or when you get that phone call from your marketing pieces, you know exactly what type of person you're dealing with, and then you can speak their language. And don't forget to ask them to sign the contract. Whether you're going to email it to them and they sign it, you're going to mail it to them and they sign it, don't forget, remember of asking people to give you their business. With that being said, I'm Wendy Lovejoy and of the YellowLetterMentoring.com. If you liked any of this information and want to get more, go over to the Yellow Letter Mentoring Facebook page, like that page. We put posts and stuff up there. And if you want to get videos on how to read people and the personality types, go to Wendy Lovejoy Real Estate Investor on YouTube, and you'll see some of those. And I also have a blog that shares this information. That's a lot of free ways that you can get the information. But if you want to take a deeper dive and you want to work closely with me, it starts with just setting up a get-to-know-you call. And that is on the YellowLetterMentoring.com. Get to know you call, and we can have a conversation to see if we're a good fit. I spoke with somebody yesterday, and I had to tell him we're not a good fit. He had the money. He was ready to sign up for the program. And I said, no, thank you, because I could tell he wasn't going to do the work. So we're not looking for people like that. It's to help them change their lifestyle by doing the work that it takes to move from level to level. Okay, make it a great week. Talk to you soon, guys. Mwah. Thank you for joining me. Bye.